Most people think building a custom truck costs a little more than buying one. Maybe 20% over sticker, maybe 30%, a reasonable premium for something personal, something unique, something that reflects exactly what the owner wanted. Here's what actually happens. The engine build alone, just the engine, costs more than a brand new pickup off the lot. The paint job costs more than most people's first car. And by the time the last bolt is tightened and the final invoice lands, the number on that page is so far from what anyone expected that most builders don't show it publicly. Today, I broke down the real cost of building a custom truck. Every category, every line item, the numbers that shops don't advertise and owners don't post on social media. And the total, the actual all-in number for a serious custom build, is going to make you look at every custom truck you've ever seen completely differently. And everyone has seen a custom truck and thought, how much did that cost? The matte black paint, the lifted suspension, the wide body, the interior that looks like it belongs in a luxury car. Most people guess a number. Most people guess wrong, usually by a factor of 2 or 3, because the visible parts of a custom build are not where the money goes. The money goes into the parts you don't see, the engineering that makes everything fit, the labour hours that nobody photographs. And the mistakes, the inevitable, expensive, completely unpredictable mistakes that every build accumulates somewhere between the first bolt removed and the last one tightened. Today, I'm going line by line through the real cost of building a custom truck. Not an estimate, not a range. The actual numbers from actual builds broken down by category with the context that makes those numbers make sense. The total at the end of this is not what you're expecting. Let's start at the beginning. I'm the donor vehicle. Before anything gets built, something gets bought. And the choice of donor vehicle is the first financial decision of the build, one that shapes every cost that follows. Most serious custom builds start with one of 3 categories: a late model production truck purchased new or lightly used, a classic truck purchased specifically for its body and frame, or a purpose-built base platform from a manufacturer like Prevost or a commercial chassis supplier. For a late model build, a current generation Ford F-150, Ram 1500, or Chevy Silverado, you're starting at $55,000 to $75,000 for a well-equipped crew cab before a single modification touches it. For a classic, a 1960s or 1970s pickup in restorable condition, expect $15,000 to $60,000 depending on the model, the condition, and how badly the seller knows you want it. The donor vehicle cost seems straightforward. It isn't, because whatever you paid for it, you're about to take most of it apart. And the parts you remove have value, but not as much value as you think. Most builders recover 10 to 20 cents on the dollar for factory components they pull during a build. The factory exhaust, the stock suspension, the original interior, these go for far less used than they cost new. Factor that into your starting number. A $65,000 donor truck with $8,000 in recovered parts value means your effective starting point is $57,000. That's before the build begins. That's the floor. When everything from here goes up. The engine. For most custom builds, the factory engine stays, upgraded, tuned, occasionally replaced, but the foundation is usually already there. For the builds that go further, the engine cost is where the first number that shocks people appears. A professional engine build on a factory V8, forged pistons, upgraded connecting rods, ported and polished heads, a quality camshaft, balanced rotating assembly, runs $8,000 to $15,000 in parts alone. Add a machine shop labor at $150 to $200 an hour for a comprehensive build, and you're looking at $12,000 to $22,000 total for a serious, naturally aspirated engine build. Add forced induction. A quality centrifugal supercharger kit for a domestic V8 runs $4,000 to $7,000 for the hardware. Installation and supporting modifications, fuel system, tune, intercooler, if applicable, add another $3,000 to $6,000. You're now at $19,000 to $35,000 for a built, blown engine that makes serious power. To go the twin-turbo route, and the math changes again. A quality twin-turbo setup on a V8, turbos, manifolds, intercooler, piping, wastegates, blow-off valves, fuel system upgrades and tune, runs $15,000 to $30,000 depending on the power target. Combined with a built short block, you can spend $35,000 to $55,000 on a serious turbocharged engine package before the truck moves an inch. And that's before you pay for the dyno time to tune it properly. Typically $800 to $1,500 per session. That's sometimes requiring multiple sessions to get right. Most builders underestimate engine costs by a factor of 2. It's the single most common budget failure in a custom build. The number sounds reasonable until you start itemizing it. The suspension. A lifted truck is the most visible modification on any custom build. It's also one of the most engineering intensive. A quality suspension lift on a modern truck. Coilovers front and rear, upper control arms, rear leaf spring replacement or link conversion, alignment and geometry correction runs $6,000 to $14,000 in parts. Add professional installation at $100 to $150 per hour for a job that typically runs 20 to 40 hours, and you're at $8,000 to $20,000 total for a quality suspension system that rides correctly. Go further. Long travel suspension that requires frame modification, custom control arm fabrication, or a full link suspension conversion, and the number climbs to $20,000 to $45,000 depending on how extensively the geometry needs to be reworked. And here's the cost that nobody mentions: the alignment. A truck with extensively modified suspension requires a specialty alignment that most shops cannot perform correctly. Finding a shop with the equipment and expertise to align a heavily modified truck properly sometimes means shipping the vehicle to a specialist. And that alignment costs $400 to $800, and it needs to be rechecked after the suspension settles, which it always does. Tires are a separate line. Quality all-terrain tires in the 37-inch range, the size most serious lifted trucks run, cost $350 to $500 each. Mount and balance at $25 to $40 per tire. 5 tires including the spare, $1,900 to $2,700 just in rubber. And the wheels those tires mount to, $2,000 to $12,000 for a quality set of custom forged wheels in the right offset for the suspension setup. Suspension total on a serious build, $12,000 to $60,000. That range is wide because the difference between a quality lift and a custom long travel setup is an entirely different category of engineering: the bodywork and exterior. Custom bodywork is where builds become visible, and where the costs become invisible to everyone except the person paying. And a full respray on a full-size truck at a quality shop, not a chain, not a discount operation, but a shop with a climate-controlled booth and painters who know what they're doing, costs $8,000 to $18,000 for a single colour in standard paint. Add a complex colour, a metallic or pearl finish, a two-tone layout or custom graphics, and you're at $15,000 to $30,000. Add a colour change wrap instead of paint, $4,000 to $8,000 for a professional installation with quality vinyl, and less durable than paint but repositionable and removable. Custom body modifications, a wide body conversion, a front bumper replacement with a custom fabricated steel unit, tube fenders, a custom hood. Each add $2,000 to $15,000 per piece depending on complexity and whether they're purchased as bolt-on kits or fabricated from scratch. A full wide body conversion, quarter panel extensions, pulled fenders, and custom arches fabricated and fitted to a truck that wasn't designed for it. $8,000 to $20,000 in fabrication alone before paint. A custom steel front bumper with integrated winch mount, light bar provisions, and D-ring mounts, $1,500 to $4,500 fabricated. Exterior lighting, LED light bars, pod lights, rock lights, custom headlight retrofits, adds another $1,500 to $6,000 depending on how extensively the truck is lit. Chrome delete, blacking out all exterior trim. Sounds simple. Professional vinyl wrap of all chrome surfaces runs $800 to $2,000. Replacing chrome with billet aluminum or painted pieces, $2,000 to $5,000. Exterior total on a serious build, $15,000 to $65,000. The paint job alone on a show quality truck costs more than a used car. That's not an exaggeration. That's the invoice, the interior. Factory interiors on modern trucks are genuinely good, and most custom builders still gut them. And because a custom exterior demands an interior that matches it, and matching a $30,000 exterior with factory materials is a visual contradiction that serious builders don't accept. A full custom interior retrim in quality leather, seats, door panels, headliner, dash accents, runs $8,000 to $20,000 at a quality upholstery shop. Add a custom steering wheel, $400 to $2,000. A custom center console fabricated to accommodate new electronics, $1,500 to $5,000. A complete audio system, head unit, some amplifiers, component speakers, subwoofer, sound deadening throughout the cab, $3,000 to $15,000 depending on the brand specified and the installation complexity. A quality sound deadening treatment for the full cab interior, the step that actually makes expensive audio systems sound the way they're supposed to, runs $800 to $2,500 in materials and labour. Custom gauges or a digital instrument cluster retrofit, $1,500 to $6,000. And it's a custom fabricated dash panel to house new electronics cleanly, $2,000 to $8,000. Climate control upgrades on a truck that's being driven in extreme temperatures, $1,500 to $4,000. Interior total on a serious build, $18,000 to $58,000. And the single most common mistake builders make on the interior is sequencing it wrong. Installing an audio system before the sound deadening or trimming the seats before the roll cage is finalized. Every sequencing error costs rework time. A rework time costs money at shop rates. Shop rates don't go down because you made the mistake. The fabrication. This is the category that doesn't appear in most build breakdowns because it doesn't correspond to a single purchased item. Fabrication is the work that makes everything fit. The custom brackets, the modified cross members, the relocated components, the hand-built solutions to problems that arise when parts designed for different vehicles meet in the same build. One professional fabrication runs $100 to $200 per hour at a quality shop. Custom builds typically accumulate between 80 and 300 hours of pure fabrication work. Work that isn't bolt-on installation, isn't painting, isn't alignment, but is the skilled metalwork that makes the build function correctly. At the low end, 80 hours at $100 per hour, that's $8,000 in fabrication labor alone. At the high end, 300 hours at $150 per hour, that's $45,000. In parts and materials, steel, aluminum, mounting hardware, weld consumables, add $2,000 to $12,000. Fabrication total on a serious build, $10,000 to $57,000. Most budget estimates don't include a fabrication line item because most builders don't anticipate how much fabrication a build actually requires. Until they're 3 months in and the invoice for custom fab work has passed $20,000 and they haven't touched the paint yet. The build management and hidden costs. No custom truck build runs on time. No custom truck build runs on budget. These are not opinions. They are statistical facts verified by every shop that builds custom trucks professionally. The average cost overrun on a custom build is 30 to 50% above the initial estimate. That overrun comes from parts that don't fit as expected and require modification, parts that are discontinued mid-build and require sourcing alternatives at higher cost, shipping and import fees on specialty components not available domestically, storage fees at the build shop when the client's decisions slow the timeline, and the tax on every decision change the client makes after work has already begun. Changing your mind about the wheel choice after the suspension is set means a new alignment. Changing the exhaust routing after the undercarriage is finished means cutting and re-welding work already paid for. Every decision change in a build has a cost. Most of those costs aren't quoted in advance because nobody anticipates making them. That they all get paid anyway. Additionally, registration and insurance on a heavily modified vehicle costs significantly more than a stock truck. Some modifications void factory warranty. Specialty insurance for a vehicle with a documented build value of $150,000 runs $3,000 to $6,000 per year. Transport to shows or events, $500 to $2,000 per trip for an enclosed trailer. Photography of the finished build for the owner's documentation. $500 to $3,000 for a professional automotive photographer. Mind these costs don't appear in build budgets. They appear in the owner's bank account in the year after the build completes. The total. a modest custom build, quality suspension lift, respray in a single colour, mild engine tune, upgraded audio, new wheels and tyres on a late model truck starting at $60,000. $110,000 to $140,000 all in. A serious custom build. Built engine with forced induction, long travel suspension, full wide body, show quality two-tone paint, complete interior retrim, and full audio system, extensive fabrication, $180,000 to $280,000 all in. An extreme build, fully custom everything, bespoke fabrication throughout, show circuit ready, built to compete at the highest level of the custom truck world, $300,000 to $500,000. And the builds on the channels you watch, the ones from established shops with established reputations and national exposure, often exceed $500,000 when every hour of labour, every part, every revision, and every associated cost is documented honestly. The trucks that go viral aren't expensive because the builders are overcharging. They're expensive because the work costs what it costs. The engineering costs what it costs, the materials cost what they cost, and the result, a vehicle that exists nowhere else in the world, built exactly the way the owner specified, costs exactly as much as it takes to produce something that has never existed before. And now you know why those trucks cost what they cost. Not because someone is marking up parts, not because shop rates are arbitrary, but because every line item on that invoice reflects a decision, a skill and a standard. And maintaining that standard on every decision across a 12-month build is exactly as expensive as it sounds. The trucks you've been watching on YouTube and Instagram and at shows, the ones that make your jaw drop, got there through a process that costs more than most people earn in 3 years. And the builders who make them will tell you the same thing every time. The number on the final invoice is always bigger than the number on the first estimate. Always. Now I want to know, knowing what you know now, which category surprised you most? The engine build, the fabrication hours, the paint, and or the total? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone. If this broke something open for you, if the real numbers behind custom builds change the way you see those trucks, hit the like button. It helps this channel reach the people asking the same questions you were asking before this video. Subscribe because we break down the real costs, the real engineering, and the real stories behind extreme machines every single week. And if the build process caught your attention, the fabrication, the sequencing, the decisions that cost money, you need to see what happens when a shop builds a truck with no ceiling on the budget whatsoever. No compromises, no cost limits, just the best version of the build possible regardless of what it takes to get there. That video is right here. See you there. See you there. See you there.